family, maybe this patient's been at home and they know just a little bit about the vents, and they're like, well, I know at home he was on a tidal volume of 700. Well, I'm going to go ahead, when the respiratory therapist walks out, I'm going to go ahead and change the controls. So we can actually, we can lock them out if we want to. So that's what that's for. But we're not having an issue with it, so we're not using it a whole lot. Okay, the next control you need to know about here, but I have all ideas. Whatever control they come over here in, whether they're in assist control or if they're in SIMD, which SIMD means they're taking spontaneous breaths, and they're probably going to remain in that control over here. So, but if by chance you ever had to change it, you would hit this twice, and it would go to the other side. Now we're in SIMD. Now if I want to go back to assist control, they're not breathing on their own. The doctor wants to, the machine to do all the breaths, then we'd switch it back over to it in SIMD. So, just by hitting it. Now if we run a blood gas on them and the doctor says their CO2 is too high, they're in assist control, and he says, let's speed up their respiratory rate so that we can blow off some of that CO2. Can you go ahead and increase the rate for me? What you do is you hit that button, whatever you want to, whatever you want to change, you're going to hit. Now you see everything else has went dim, except for the one will change. You've got one button that changes everything on here. Any knob that you want, any parameter that you want to change, you just got this one dial that's going to change it. So I'm going to change the rate, and the doctor says increase them to 14. Let's blow some of the CO2 off. So I put it back up to 14, I hit it, everything else comes out. So we do another blood gas, and they're saying, well, we need a little bit more oxygen. So, they're kind of a big person for such a small tidal volume. So we're going to hit the tidal volume, everything else is going to, go dim. So I'm going to turn their tidal volume up to 700. And see, we're going to do blood gas from 700 to see how it is. So we're switching to 700. And now when you're in this control mode over here, assist control, we don't have pressure support. Pressure support is a mode that helps the patient. Also, it helps the patient breathe. It gives them support. The lungs are expanded, so when they go to take a breath, they can breathe just a little bit better. This is you've got pressure support. You've got PEEP over here. PEEP is for ventilation. Pressure support is for ventilation, whereas your PEEP is going to be for oxygenation. So that's what the difference in the two modes is. And I'm going to switch. Usually, pressure support has to do with ventilation, breathing, helping the patient breathe easier. If the patient has an oxygenation problem where we've got them at 80% oxygen and their blood gases come back and their PO2s are still 50 or 60, we want to extend those lungs out a little bit further. The doctor might ask you to increase the PEEP. We normally keep the PEEP around 5. 10's not bad, but I have seen PEEP if they're having a real oxygenation issue and we want to get their oxygen, their PO2s up a little better, we can increase that up to 18 or 20. So that for real severe patients. So now I've switched them over to SIMD. Now we have pressure support, so we can we can change that pressure support to increase it to 15 if we need. Okay. Now the next thing is going to be your alarms. And reason the high pressure alarm keeps going off is because that's not, that's a stiff lung, and you're getting a lot of pressure in there. On a patient, we're not going to be getting as much. So when we go to set the alarms, the 3 alarms that we're going to set here, we're going to set the low minute volume alarm, which we usually anywhere from, we usually keep it around 2 to 2.5. Low pressure, we want it, we always keep it around 5. And that'll give us enough, it'll sound the alarm enough to know if it's disconnected. High pressure, we usually keep it at 60, but we can go all the way up to 100. But we normally keep it at 60 because we don't want the pressures in the lungs to get much higher than that for the risk of trauma to the lungs. And then that, like I said, okay, see, I hit the alarm, the silence button. Now I'm going to hit this, and it tells me it was high pressure. So the peak, the same way, I just hit it, and then I can lower it down to 5. Hit it again, but after about 3 seconds, it will go ahead and reset if you forget to hit the button. Now, if you come in and you hear the alarm, you're usually going to see whatever alarm's going, which is, in this case, it's our high pressure keeps going off. Now, as a respiratory therapist, when we have to do vent checks every 4 hours. And so when we come in to do our vent checks, and you won't have to do this, but when we come in to do vent checks, this is where we get all our information right here. We scroll through here and we write down. This is PIP, mean arterial pressure, MAP, peak, frequency. That's telling me that this patient's breathing 24 breaths per minute on there. So that means the vent set at 14, that means they're doing 10 breaths spontaneous on their own. So this number and that number is going to be different a lot of times. A lot of times it's anywhere from 20 to 40. Then we got minute volume, tidal volume, IE ratio, inspiratory, expiratory. These are all things that we keep up with. And if I hold this down for 3 seconds, there's other parameters in there that I can go into, but that's nothing that y'all need to know about. It's actually, I don't need to go in there and mess with it.